with
or
Keith Myers
and the
Indiana SRN Sports Radio
made
Network.
possible by Morales Group.
Email us
College
at
Hunts and Movers
at the IHSAA and Aspen Creek Grill. Now, let's join Keith and his guests.
Well, good morning. It is another edition of Sports Zone. On the hotline now is a guy that does Hoosier Basketball Magazine. Hi, Kip. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be on with you, Keith.
It's good to hear you. I saw you during basketball season. Basketball season, of course, got cut short, but saw you during basketball season. Thank you very much for putting Indiana SRN in the Hoosier Basketball Magazine. I don't know how many copies you sold, but I know a lot of people look for that year after year after year. I do believe this was the 50th year, correct?
Yes, 50th anniversary issue, 2019-20. We made it to at least 4 or 5 games a week. I have staff all over the state, Northwest Indiana. I have a guy in Southern Indiana, a guy over on the west part of the state near Terre Haute. So myself, I'll make it to 4 or 5 games a night, but then my staff will be at games throughout the state with the Hoosier Basketball Magazine. It's a kind of publication that people, when they see it, they know it, and they like to get their hands on it for sure. And yes, I appreciate the relationship with SRN.
If people still want that magazine, they can go onto your website at HoosierBasketballMagazine.com and order that. I know mine is framed now because this season, sadly enough, is over. Your thoughts of the decision that the Indiana High School Athletic Association made to postpone the state tournament?
Well, it's really a disappointing deal for the seniors, especially. The kids have put in so much time and effort and energy to this season. And I guess the silver lining is 64 teams got to win their last sectional game as opposed to just 4 teams. But of course, with this pandemic, you can't mess with the health and safety of the student athletes. And it's not just the student athletes, it's the referees, the administrators, everybody involved. So I totally understand the decision and respect the decision. But of course, it's disappointing for the kids that are involved because there was had the potential for a great state championship weekend, which would be.
Let's talk a little bit about the year that it was, though. A great year of high school basketball from the top to the bottom. SRN did over 200 ball games. I know you've been around plus 100 ball games yourself, but it was a pretty good year, wasn't it, overall?
Well, yes, definitely. I mean, when you have a team that goes undefeated like Bloomington South and Lawrence North, part of the MIC conference, it's just outstanding the way they performed. Of course, they lost to North Central during the season, but I was at the sectional game when they beat Lawrence Central. In fact, I was at the county game when they beat Lawrence Central. So for them to have, and they beat them during the regular season, for them to have beaten Lawrence Central 3 times, and those were the only 3 losses for Lawrence Central as well. So Marion County basketball typically is the cream of the crop for the state, although it would have been interesting to see how Bloomington South and J.R. Holmes, who's the all-time career victory coach, leader in the state, it would have been interesting to see how those teams would have matched up in the semi-state. And then you look at some of the smaller schools like Bar Reeve, for instance. They were a state runner-up last year in Class A, and Fort Wayne Blackhawk moves up. But Bar Reeve, I mean, they were in a position to, make it back to the state finals. Greenwood Christian in that same class, that would have been a great game as well. So the small classes as well as the large classes, you're right, it was an outstanding season.
Yeah, you talk about that Greenwood Christian team only had 1 loss to a very good university team who lost in the first round of the sectional. So wide open from 4A all the way to 1A. The surprising is Lawrence Township had 2 teams that really dominated high school basketball, and they're a mile and a half apart from each other.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen, I've been doing the Hoosier Basketball Magazine for more than 25 years, Gary Donna for 50 years. I don't know if there's been a situation where not only the same township but same school district have had outstanding teams like this. I know with maybe in football, Hamilton Southeastern and Fishers and some different teams over the years have been outstanding. But the Lawrence North, Lawrence Central rivalry is really kind of unique for the 2019-20 season.
Let's take you back all the way to 25 years ago. Gary Donna met you. What got you involved in following this guy and now taking over the magazine as you have?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking. I was a Purdue student, and I had a love for Indiana high school basketball. In fact, my family would always go on Friday and Saturday nights growing up. So that's what I knew as a kid. And so when I was in college, I knew that Gary would be there for a clinic, and I just went over and kind of introduced myself to him. And that day he said, well, if you don't have anything going on, I've got a box of 20 magazines here if you want to try and sell them. And so literally that was like my interview with him. I sold them maybe in 15 or 20 minutes, called him that night. And kind of the rest is history. It's really the only job I've ever had or ever known. I put in a lot of all-nighters in the early days in the 90s and 2000s, working side by side with Gary Donna. We'd get pizza at the office and, put together the Hoosier Basketball magazine. But looking back on those memories, of course, death and those kind of things are sad. But I really have a lot of fond memories of Gary Donna. He died in 2017. And I'm very fortunate to be able to have taken over the Hoosier Basketball magazine because it's a great publication, but it has a legacy, and I want to carry that legacy on as much as I possibly can.
Okay, here's a question. I know my friend up north, Ron Heskalinsky, is going to make me ask this question, so I might as well ask it. Was he in a sweatsuit when he first met you?
Yeah. His blue sweatsuit is very iconic for sure. In fact, Chris May, after he died, Chris May wanted to ask me about the blue windbreaker with the Hoosier Basketball magazine logo, and I think there's actually one at the Hall of Fame, kind of to immortalize Gary Donna and his blue windbreaker sweatsuit.
The first time I met Gary Donna, we were doing a ball game, and he was selling the magazine himself. And I said, do you have time to do a halftime show? He goes, son, I'm selling these magazines today. And I just thought it was so cool. After the game, he comes to me and thanked me for asking him. But his sole task was to meet people, talk basketball, and sell his magazine.
Yeah, that's the thing that was very impressive about Mr. Donna. It's just like what I mentioned, we have staff around the state, but he would go out. In fact, I think over many years, he would go over 200 games a year and, just get out as much as he could because when he started this, there were newspaper business and magazine business was different, obviously, but it was something new for the state, and people really absorbed it and loved it. But it was the hard work and time and dedication that he put into it. He called it a labor of love.
Yes,
and
he did.
That's exactly true. It's hard work, but he enjoyed it, and obviously, like I said, he has a legacy to carry on.
And every single coach that you would talk to would respect him because of the knowledge of the game that he has. And that's one thing I love about hanging out with you, Kip. The knowledge of the game that you have has helped me with our network, because without you and your help, we would go out of this kind of blind because we don't know a lot of teams from the north region or the southern region. So we get to study that book, and it's that knowledge that you share, which helps everybody in the business to do what we do covering high school sports.
Well, it is a neat publication in the fact that it covers all 400 plus schools, and we want to try and get it out a little sooner. That's my goal each year. But the accuracy and just dealing with heights, grades, and positions. I mean, the detail that's in each capsule is truly significant as far as I'm concerned, and I appreciate your feedback on that.
Kip, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have a lot more for you. Okay, can you stay for a couple more minutes?
Sounds great. Thank you, Keith.
We'll take a break. We'll be right after this. You're listening to the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job. That helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who play high school
love to work with you.
Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium Black Agnes steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, home for God's Word 24/7 and sports. It is the Sports Zone on Indiana SRN. You can reach us by Twitter at Indiana SRN. My email address is coach@indianasrn.org. Love to talk to you. Kip is with us from Hoosier Basketball Magazine. And Kip, my favorite pages on the magazine is page 58. Excuse me, page 58 and 247, because that's where our little logo is. I thank you very much for putting that in there.
Yeah, no, it's a great relationship that we have, and you know, when you get to as many games as you do, and we're out with our magazine, it works well when we're talking about high school basketball in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about memories. What probably you have a couple, I'm sure, but what sticks out of your mind more than anything about what you do, and maybe the best game that you saw, maybe in the history or even this year? Yeah,
the game that really resonates the most with me is a sectional final from, I think it was 92, 93 era, because it was Kojak Fuller, Maurice Fuller from Anderson, and Randy Zachary from Anderson Highland. Oh, yeah. And they were both on the front cover of Hoosier Basketball Magazine their senior season. I had been to games that year when they had played, and them against other opponents, but they played at the Wigwam on a sectional final. It was packed, sold out. In fact, I didn't even have a seat. I was able to get a little corner by the Anderson Highland cheer block and be able to watch the game. But the atmosphere in the Wigwam that night was just electric. It was something that I'll always remember. A very close second is the regional when Michael Mincer played for Batesville, and that game was at the Chrysler Fieldhouse in Newcastle, and it was sold out, 9,000+ people. So those two games really resonate with my history of Hoosier Basketball Magazine. But this year, with the girls' tournament, was actually able to be completed, and we made it to a lot of girls' games as well. And we had our top 60 senior workout, which we were fortunate to be able to get in before the pandemic hit. But the state finals for Class 4A, and Lawrence North's victory over Northwestern. Hoosier Basketball Magazine had rated Lawrence North number 1 and Northwestern number 2, and going into the game, Northwestern was undefeated and they had such a great season. But that game was really an outstanding game, and they put on a great show for the fans in attendance at Bankers Life Fieldhouse that day.
I can remember my first sectional game was probably in 1975 when I was a freshman at high school. I never understood, high school basketball until then. I think I caught the fever of what I wanted to do the rest of my life on that night as Southport takes on Indianapolis Howe. But the team before we played, Wood, was playing their last game of their school that year, and Ed Ward did an amazing job with that Woodchuck team. And the uniforms, I can still remember the uniforms, packed Southport High School, incredible. And that caught me on fire of what I really wanted to do. Now, the Lord had other things for me to do until I got there, but high school sports has been a part of everyone's life forever. I talked to Phil Eskew the other day, and it's crazy the stories that he shared about high school sports.
Yeah, it really is a coming together of a community, and especially for the sectional tournament, there's a lot of parents and friends and family that go, but when it comes sectional time, it seems like the whole community rallies around the local high school team, and whether it's class basketball or no class basketball, it's still your community, and those memories are very fond, as you mentioned.
To this day, Lagodi, Bar Reeves, teams like Linton Stockton still sells out on Friday nights. And when we get to go down to opportunity to go down and see Linton Stockton play and put that on internet radio, or the regionals and semi-state of girls, packed places. And for what we do now, we get to share that throughout the whole entire audience around the world. And Grandma and Grandpa appreciates it. And thank goodness for technology, and thanks goodness for you, Kip, and keeping this Hoosier Basketball Magazine alive. And if there's anything we can do in the near future, please let us know. We want to keep lifting the hands of the people that bring the best of high school sports.
Well, I appreciate that. And yes, as you mentioned, there's some hotbed locations around the state that really have a craving for Indiana high school basketball. And with SRN and Hoosier Basketball Magazine, we try and do our best. So I appreciate those words.
Kip, I know you're really, really busy. You got us in between coffee breaks. Thank you very much this morning, and have a great day, and we'll talk to you again.
Happy to be on with you. Thanks, Keith. Bye-bye.
All right. We'll be back after this. You're listening to Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game.
Piper Group Warehouse has a strong commitment to their clients as their logistics provider. If you would like to discover how you can improve your service levels while lowering your overall cost, Piper Logistics Group can help. Call Greg Piper today at 317-396-3916. Piper Logistics Group.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium Black Agnes steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer, and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
At Lawrence Baking Company, we'll provide you with wholesale bakery products on bulk orders. If you have a special occasion coming up, don't worry. You'll get first-rate bakery products at affordable prices. Treat your taste buds by savoring our delicious bakery products that include donuts, Danish pastries, cookies, muffins, pies, and bagels. We also provide delivery services at $3. If you're unable to reach us, our skilled crew will come to you with your order.
Lawrence Baking Company, 317-897-6850. Do you want to hear your favorite team on IndianaSRN.org? It's easy to do, calling all the play-by-play and colored commentary. High school sports along with youth sport, Mr. Wizard is waiting for your call. Contact him at 317-443-0052. We're ready for every touchdown, basket, and goal. Contact Mr. Wizard, 317-443-0052. You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports. Back on the Sports Zone. I've known this guy for a long, long time. He now is the head coach at Park Tudor High School, who has no gymnasium because it's now gone. The gymnasium that I remember growing up in and Brad Letterman kicking me out of is no longer going to be there. Tim Adams joins us, the head coach at Park Tudor. Your gym's not there anymore, is it?
It's not. Thanks for having me, Keith. It's in the process here of being demoed, and we will be without a facility for a full year, but the end product that comes out of that is going to be pretty special.
You know, you can use my backyard. I do have a cement court. You can use my backyard if you need to.
I think we might need to do that.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about you and growing up. You grew up in the gym because your dad officiated for all those years. He took you to some of those games. Did you fall in love with it that way, or did you want to be where you are now as a coach?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both, Keith. You know, getting in the car with him and taking trips to whether it was Crawfordsville or small towns and watching him officiate big-time high school basketball games on Friday nights. It was something that struck a chord for sure, and just that atmosphere of being in the gym and watching guys compete and watching the support of, with schools and the programs that are traditionally, very strong, and watching some of these guys, create paths for themselves through athletics. It was something that I was certainly drawn to and loved to compete as I was growing up, and always wanted to be able to give back some way, and coaching was the best way that I found to do that.
And your dad was so instrumental in my basketball career as an official, as I officiated for almost 25 years, got me into college ranks, directed me to the women's game because they needed good officials. And now all of a sudden, the last couple of years, he has followed Indiana SRN because we have followed your team a little bit. But sure. every Friday night, he goes, "What game are you going to broadcast? Thanks for doing so much for high school sports." And then the sectionals, I mean, he had no fingernails left the last couple games that you guys played.
Yeah, no, it's been really neat, Keith. For my last 2 years coaching here at Park Tudor, I've asked him to be a part of our staff, and he comes to practice just about every day, and he absolutely loves to watch me do what I do. But at the same time, he likes to be a part of a team, and our guys, our players are so great with him, and he's able to pull them aside and speak from a different point of view as a parent, and maybe be able to help communicate a message that was delivered a little bit differently from me during practice. So it's been really neat to have him around, and our guys love seeing him too.
And, as a coach, you need that. I know as I coached this game for a while, and you have a lot more wins than I do, so I'm a little jealous there.
I have better players, right?
Yeah, much better players. But, you need that person that Ron Hecklinski calls it the mother coach, because not only does he set the tone, but he makes that point a little bit different, and then it hits the light bulb, and the kid understands that the coach is not mad at me. He just wants me to do much, much better.
Yeah, sometimes it's just a different voice, right? You can say the same thing that I say a little differently, more experience, being around the game, obviously longer than I have, and then just from a parental standpoint, it's been really nice. And then obviously my relationship with my dad, he can shut the door in my office, and he can offer suggestions. He can say, "Here's how I've done it in the past." I think this is the one time, Keith, that I get to choose if I want to listen or not. And, growing up, I didn't have much of an option to pick and choose what I wanted to listen to. And now he's been very good at just kind of keeping it conversational and letting me do my thing and letting me learn how to run a program, but offering some advice.
Let's talk a little bit about your basketball career as a player. How was that, and how do you put that player perspective into your coaching? Because now you're not only a head coach, you're also an assistant athletic director at Park Tudor. Sure. All those things, and administration-wise, it wraps up, and it's a really tough day for you at times.
Yeah, it's that quote of, you find something you do or that you love that you're doing, you never work another day in your life, and that is. It couldn't be more true with what I'm able to do right now and coaching. And being around student athletes and being around such a great administration over at Park Tudor. It just, you work those long days and it just doesn't feel, sometimes you have, a little bit of, gosh, I wish I had a normal 9 to 5, but for the most part, Keith, it's been a blessing to be over there, and those long days don't certainly feel like that. But, from a playing standpoint and growing up and having 3 older brothers, Keith, it was always about trying to compete and stay up with those older guys and be able to get picked up on the playground. And when I had my opportunity, make the most of it, or I was going to sit there for a while. And that's kind of something that carried over in high school playing, and then definitely in the college level at Marian University when I finally got an opportunity to play at that level. I kind of kept that as part of my personality of having a chip on my shoulder and trying to make the best of opportunities. And I couldn't be more thankful for a place like Marian that it gave me that opportunity to play and get a great education.
The other thing is you always passed the ball, so coach always going to put you in the game because you didn't shoot the ball as much as you wanted to.
Well, I don't know. You might want to ask some of my teammates. They may have a different opinion on that.
Yeah, that's true too. But that's probably true. The long tube socks no longer the hip thing to wear now. You have to wear those anklets. At least that's changed the game a little bit.
Did you find a picture of me wearing long tube socks?
Oh yes, sir.
I know they're out there, Keith.
There is. There's one, and and I'll send it to you when we get done here.
I think it made me look a little faster and more athletic. I'm not sure.
I don't know if you ever were fast or not. So, Coach, you had a great year. I know it was cut short. You got beat by a very good Covenant Christian ball club. That championship game was really good. I mean, it was close and it was intense, and it came down to the last 2 or 3 minutes. Talk a little bit about your team and how you are so proud of the effort they made this year.
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. I love this team, and we went through a lot of adversity this year with some injuries, as most coaches and programs do. Went through some adversity with some injuries. A couple kids decided that they did not want to be a part of the program, and I got to give our kids credit. They just hung in there. They came to practice every day with that attitude to get better and buy into what we're trying to create over there as a culture. And it was a complete joy. Now, it didn't end the way that we wanted to. We knew that we were close, and we are close right now to getting the program where it needs to be. And we lost to a really good Covenant Christian team, and they've got, they started 4 seniors, and that's what we'll be next year. So we'll have an opportunity to have a little bit of that experience underneath our belt. But we knew it was going to be a tough game, and even the semifinal against University. Our sectional is no joke, and we know what we have to be able to come out of that, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, I think it was the toughest sectional in 2A. Hey, Tim, we got to take a 2-minute break. Can you stay with us for one more segment?
Absolutely.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, a lot more with Tim Adams, the head coach at Park Tudor High School. You're listening to The Sports Zone on Indiana SRN.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job that helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. high school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium black Agnes steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer, and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, home for God's Word 24/7 and sports. Back on the Sports Zone with us now is Tim Adams. He's been with us segment number 1, and thanks for sticking around with us. I appreciate it.
No problem, Keith.
Let's talk a little about, as we talk about the end of the season. Next year, you look at, with no gymnasium, how is it going to be to play every single game away? Or is there going to be a home court somewhere where you can call home?
Yeah, definitely going to be a challenging year, right, Keith? We've got, if there is a year to do it, which I'm not sure there is, it would be next year with our returning group and only losing one senior. These guys are certainly battle tested and have gone on the road and played in some tough environments. It is just going to be that we go on the road every game and play in tough environments now for next year. But there's some talk with a home court for us next year that will be obviously away from campus. And then we're kicking around the idea of just trying to go play at some of the most traditional and neat gymnasiums around the state.
Well, if you need us to follow you, we can webcast every single game for you. I'll talk to your agent, and we'll see if there's some money in your budget. I know that we did 5 of your games this year. We always enjoy doing those games for you.
No, we love having you. I don't know if you're going to get a hold of my agent. I don't know if he exists, but we do love having you. You guys do a fantastic job, and it's always fun to talk with you.
We talk about the ups and downs. You guys changed into a different conference this year, a little different look for you. The Greenwood Christian Ball Club was very good in that conference. University's a pretty good team in that conference. What do you think that the growth of that conference, will the competition be what you want? And, with those two schools battling back and forth, both of those teams might be pretty good next year as well.
Yeah, I think that, you look at the coaches in our conference, and they do a great job. And obviously, at University and Greenwood Christian, both had really, really good years. We got to play both of them. And those are the type of programs and teams that we would like to play on a consistent basis. I think what you'll see with us outside of our conference, Keith, is we're going to try to add a couple more 4A teams. Being in the county, to win that thing, you got to be able to beat the big boys, and then that's going to play at North Central or at Warren Central, whatever it takes. I think you're going to see some of that coming out of our schedule. I would like for our guys who have aspirations to play in college to have that experience of playing against some bigger schools in a larger environment. So that's something we're excited about moving forward.
I understand that as a coach. I wanted to win, but you want to play some competition, and I understand that. But, man, playing those Lawrence Central schools that you do and North Central, those teams can beat you up.
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge, and that's one of the reasons I got into this business is there is a competitive streak in me, and although it be that their enrollment's different or they're able to pick and choose a little bit better for their program and their team, I do think that if we do things the way that we are doing right now and continue to work the way we are with our high character student athletes that we have, that we're able to compete with those guys.
Talk about who your hero is in basketball.
My hero in basketball. Certainly can't use myself, right?
No, you cannot.
I wouldn't be anyway. I've had the opportunity to go back and watch some of my old games, and man, I don't know if I would like to have coached me. My hero in basketball. Well, I think that, we talked about it earlier, and being around my dad and being around the game, a lot of that would have to go back in his direction. Even though he wasn't a player, he gave me that first opportunity to be around something that I fell in love with. And that was my first experience to have that dream and vision of, I would love to be a part of this one day underneath the lights on Friday. And, and smelling that popcorn in the gym and hearing the high school bands. And that was something that always stuck with me, Keith. And even though, again, like I said, he wasn't a player, he gave me that opportunity to see that something that I loved.
Yeah, I think remembering back from my officiating day, I could not wait till Friday night to hear the bands playing and people yelling at you. One memory I'll share with you. I got to go down to Seeger High School back in Stephanie White's days, and there was 4 gentlemen, and they all had bicycle bells. And I asked him, "What is the bicycle bells for?" And he goes, "Well, when the officials make a bad call, we ring the bell." And I said, "Oh," I said, "Well, you won't ring it tonight, because I'm from Indianapolis." He goes, "Yeah, we heard you're the best official in the state of Indiana." I'm working with
High expectations.
Yes, I'm working with Ray Tebby and Bob Anderson. I'm throwing the ball up in the air, and I hear jing, 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 jing.
You knew you were going to hear it all night.
Yeah, I did. So, hey, real quick, a quiz here for you. Can you take it for me?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get all the right answers, but go ahead.
There's not a wrong answer, Coach. That's why I did it, because I'm dealing with you. So, orange juice or apple juice?
Apple juice.
Pizza or nachos?
Pizza. That's an easy one.
Popcorn or pretzels?
Popcorn.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Wow. What kind of cake? Chocolate?
Yeah, I'll go with chocolate.
Oh, there you go. Last one. Fast cars or a monster truck?
Fast cars.
There you go. See how easy that was, Coach?
I got them all right.
You did. You got them all right. Hey, thanks so much for spending some time with us. We can't wait to meet up with you. I know this thing's going to break, and we'll get together. We'll have a coffee or something. We'll get together.
Absolutely. Hang in there. Really appreciate everything you do, Keith.
You bet. Thanks, Coach Tim Adams. Coach Tim Adams from Park Tudor High School. We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Just 2 years ago, internet radio seemed to be a mysterious phenomenon. It was available for use, but there wasn't much data. That has changed. Today, there is a growing body of information on internet radio. 7 out of 10 people ages 18 to 45 prefer to listen to internet radio than a terrestrial radio station. If you're interested in reaching this audience, email us at coach@indianasrn.org. We look forward to sharing our low rates with you and help to market your business. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Hey, Derek here. Please give me just a few seconds to explain why I can help you better than anyone else, guaranteed. I create for you a super fast and responsive client-grabbing website that increases customer acquisition by almost 300%. Your new website will honestly value at over $2,000, and you will get it for a huge and ridiculous discount if you act right now. Contact me today. Let's build something great together.
Contact Derek at PCProsLLC.com.
You're listening to IndianaSRN.org. You are listening to the Sports Zone. I don't know how to speak English. I guess I will do that. Thank goodness this guy's not an English teacher, but he is a good basketball coach. Hey, Andy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Keith. How are you?
Andy McGuire from Zionsville High School. We met probably 2 or 3 years ago. Rachel McEmore was one of my favorite players that we loved to watch when she played at Covenant Christian. And all of a sudden she came to your school and has now started a good career. But long ago, you had a nice little run. I think it was just, about a year ago, maybe 2?
Yeah, 2 years ago. We had really 4 great years in a row, and Rachel was a big part of that. Having her move to Zionsville for her senior year was a really nice thing, mainly just because she's such a great girl and her family's an outstanding family. And She was a great basketball player. Actually, the last basketball game I got to see this year was went down and saw IUPUI win their conference tournament, and was excited that Rachel, at least looked like at the time, was going to go on to the NCAA tournament. And obviously that has taken a different course, but she had a great year at IUPUI and is playing well and very successable.
But you had some great players and still have great players, and you still have that fire in your gut. I know during this time of maybe vacant of basketball, you still have that fire and determination. Rough year this year, but you look like you got a squad that will bounce back pretty well for the next couple of years.
Yeah, we're excited. I mean, this year was one of those seasons. Maybe we're blessed for 4 years in a row, but it seemed like everything that could go wrong went wrong. Our best player, Katie Richardson, was out, about half the season with a stress fracture, and we were just young. We like you said, we had some great players. We lost Maddie Nolan to Michigan, and she had an outstanding freshman year at the University of Michigan, and ended up being a starter on their team the last 3 or 4 weeks of their season. And we lost Megan Sheridan to Butler. She's an outstanding volleyball player there, and she played a lot as a freshman. We lost Delaney Richardson to Vermont, and she got to start every game this year as a freshman. So, we were blessed. We had some really good athletes, and we had some Annie Takarik, who's a softball player at Indiana State, and Kaylee Riggins, who's a lacrosse player at Akron. So we had like 5 or 6 Division I players. They weren't all necessarily full-time basketball players, but anytime you have that, it makes the coach look a lot better. So we knew losing those kids was going to be a difference. And then when Katie got hurt, and we were starting 2 freshmen, with the schedule we play, it was difficult, but we did get better. I mean, that was the great thing. At the end of the season, I thought we were a much better team.
Yeah, you do play a brutal schedule. I don't know who your athletic director is, so you might want to talk to him a little bit about that. So
yeah, I know. I've tried. He just doesn't listen to me. Yeah.
You talk about these teams and these girls that are playing. You look at the University of Vermont. They have captured Indiana basketball players, and I don't know what about the university, but Vermont has picked up some great Indiana kids that now are playing basketball for them.
Yeah, for sure. Not only Delaney, of course, went out there, and then Emma Utterback, who played at Center Grove, went with her, and Emma had an outstanding. I think she may have been freshman of the year in their conference. And then I can't the kid's name's leaving my head right now, but the kid from Bloomington or Columbus, one or the other that went there, was a great story. So yeah, Vermont has a great connection. I know when Delaney was getting recruited, they talked a lot about how they enjoyed getting players from Indiana. They knew that they were all in when it came to basketball, and they knew that they would have the right skill level. So it was a great fit for her, and she loves it there.
Josh Spidell is the player you were thinking about from Columbus North. I got to see him make a layup on senior night as they honored his scholarship. A touching story. The Spidell family was very instrumental, was very kind of cool for us to get to know them during that time. Coach, who was your hero during the time that you grew up, during your basketball career, when you were playing, and who got you involved in coaching?
I was lucky. My father was a basketball coach, so growing up as a kid, I was in the gym a lot. My dad coached, his first stint was at Lebanon under Jim Rosensteel, and so, obviously learned a lot from Coach Rosensteel, and then he became the coach at Zionsville. He was at Zionsville for 6 years in the 70s, from about 70 to 76. So I grew up in the old gym in Zionsville, spending a lot of time there as a kid. And just kind of my whole life, I've been around a lot of different coaches because of, relationships with my dad and different people. But I would say my dad's was my biggest influence. And then, one of my first coaching experiences as a student teacher was at Lebanon, and I got to work with Bill Bowen and Dave Carney, and I just thought they were perfect people to start with, and they took me under their wings and taught me a lot. And then I got really lucky. My first actual teaching position was at Western Boone. And they hired, the same year they hired me to come to Western Boone, they hired Ed Schilling. So Ed was the varsity coach, and I was his freshman boys coach. So, I learned a lot from Ed during that time. He's probably the best skill development coach I've ever worked for. I mean, he just really knew how to develop players, and I learned a lot of things from Ed. So, it's the great thing about coaches is they share a lot. So there've been a lot of coaches in my lifetime that have shared a lot with me. Mike Steele became a good friend of my parents when they lived in Greencastle, and he was the coach at DePaul and later at East Carolina. He's always been a good mentor for me as well. There's a gentleman named Jim Hutter who coached at Louisville Male and won a state tournament there, who was a good friend of my father, who always had words of advice. So I guess I've been lucky all through my life. I've had a lot of good role models, and at Zionsville with Coach Busick and with Greg Shellhouse as our athletic director, it's continued, and I, even at age 56, I continue to grow and change and try to do new things all the time.
Ed Schilling's taught you how to dress, didn't he? He was the fashion plate, right? He taught you.
He was. I'm never going to reach that height. At one point, I think he made a lot more money than I did when he was with Calipari. But I did. I will say that is one thing from all those coaches. Dave Carney always wore a tie and a jacket, and that's something I've always kind of carried over. I think it's some coaches don't believe in that, but I've always felt that you should wear a tie, wear a jacket, look nice, and my dad did that. But Ed was the top of the scale for sure. Still does to this day.
Yeah, fashion plate. I kind of like him. Andy, you need to do that. Maybe you need to get a wardrobe.
Yeah, I know. I've worked on that, but I don't think I'm at that level where there's quite the demand for my name or the style anyway.
I tell you what, when we develop our SRN tie, I'll send you one. You can wear it during a game day.
I'll definitely do that.
Hey, we got to take a 2-minute break. Can you stick with us for a little bit?
I sure will.
Andy McGuire, the head coach at Zionsville High School. We'll be right back after this. You're listening to Indiana SRN. You can reach us by Twitter at @IndianaSRN. Please make comments about the show. Let us know if you know someone or you want us to interview someone. We'd be more than happy to do that. Coach at @IndianaSRN. It's Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. We'll be back after this 2-minute timeout.
There's no greater anti-poverty measure than to give a person a job that helps them start to change that trajectory. Thousands of people get jobs here from all of these diverse backgrounds. We're helping write that story of that better future that we know they can get, we know that they deserve.
Morales Group is a full-service staffing company that provides temporary labor in the Indianapolis, Central Indiana market.
Come talk to us. We would love to work with you.
So you called us because you're stressed from all that clutter taking up your space. The best part is we do all the heavy lifting for you, so you can just sit back and relax. Our hunks call at least 20 to 30 minutes prior to your appointment window. You don't need to lift a finger except to point what items you would like us to haul away. Thanks again for choosing College Hunks Hauling Junk, and we look forward to providing you with a stress-free hauling experience.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7, and sports.
Question. When you walk into the boardrooms of the most successful companies here in Indiana, who do you meet? Answer. Men and women who played high school sports. Education-based high school sports give us more than athletes we can root for. They give us leaders we can depend on. Question. So where will we find tomorrow's leaders? Answer. High school sports.
This message presented by the Indiana High School Athletic Association and the Indiana Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Craving comfort fresh food made from scratch daily? Check out Aspen Creek Grill. Located across from Hamilton Town Center and beside the Holiday Inn, we offer family farm-raised premium Black Agnes steaks hand-cut daily, creamy pastas, salmon chicken, and fall-off-the-bone ribs. Start with our famous powwow shrimp appetizer, and don't miss our refreshing drinks. Family-friendly or a great night out with friends. Aspen Creek Grill. Aspen Creek Grill, Noblesville. Call 317-559-3300.
You're listening to Indiana SRN, home for God's Word 24/7 and sports. Back on the Sports Zone, Andy McGuire joins us. He's the head coach at Zionsville High School, girls varsity basketball coach. Coach, you know, a couple of years ago, I think we had you on the Sports Zone during your little run, and during that run, your closest game was maybe 60 miles away. Explain that road that because you had to travel far away from home.
Yeah, we did. I think, if I remember right, that our sectional that year was at Logansport, which is not an easy drive for us, but one that we didn't mind making, and it was a good trip for us, and we were very successful there. When I look back at that team, we talked about Rachel McElmore earlier. That probably wasn't our best team, but it was, at the end of the season, it was just a team that kind of put it all together. But we won 3 games in the sectional, and then we traveled to Kokomo, where we kind of made that our second home for a stretch there. We loved that gym, and then playing the regional there was always nice. It was actually weird this year. Obviously we weren't in the regional, but I drove up to watch the regional, and it just was different being at Marion and not at Kokomo. So, but had a real good run at Kokomo. That was probably the big game that got us to where we ended up going. We played Carmel in the first game, and Carmel had beaten us twice that year. They had beaten us during the regular season, and then we played them in the Hall of Fame Classic at Newcastle, and they beat us both times. And we just we had our kids followed a game plan really well, and I look back at that. I don't think Carmel probably played as well as what they were capable of, and that's what you got to have happen sometimes. And we toughed it out and won a big game against them, and that kind of was the hurdle that just kind of moved us forward. So then we turned around and won against Fort Wayne South in the championship game. So then we took the long trip to Valpo. It was a snowy, cold day, and that is a long trip from Zionsville, Indiana. But it was well worth it. We played extremely well that day from start to finish, and had a nice victory against Penn. And it was a fun experience. That whole ride during that tournament was just a great experience. Most of our kids will talk about the games, but we just had a lot of fun during that time. We did a lot of team building things and took a lot of trips. They loved Cone Palace and Kokomo, and we did a lot of fun things, and that's the stuff that they talk about today when I talk with them. So the state tournament, it was a little disappointing. I mean, it was obviously the closest trip for us, and it was a great experience. But we just came up a little short, losing the 4 points to Warren Central, who was an outstanding team, a team that we had actually beat during the regular season at their place. So it was a little disappointing, but when you get to that point, there's not a lot to be disappointed about. I mean, I thought overall it was our kids just played unbelievably well throughout the season, but more importantly, they just were great kids, and we had really good parents and a very supportive program in general.
You look at that year, you were 15-2 of the last 17 games of the year. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was. We lost, I think, maybe 6 games that year total. But, yeah, we started off a little, our record wasn't outstanding at one point in the season. I think maybe, I forget if we were 4-4 or something like that. And, the kids just kept working hard. We had a bunch, again, I told you earlier, we had a bunch of really good athletes, but a bunch of smart kids who we were able to do a lot more with. I mean, we could really challenge them, and they love to be challenged. But and they bought into a lot of things. Throughout the journey, we had a little briefcase that we took with us, and each trip we called it a business trip, and each trip we brought something out of the briefcase and talked about it, and the kids, I think those little things made a difference.
Yeah, united those teams and those kids. Real quick before we leave, what is the fondest memory you have in your coaching career?
That is a tough one. There's so many. I think senior nights are always fond memories. They bring out a lot of emotion. I think my middle daughter, Grace, her senior night was always a really special one. But, I think our year-end banquets have really meant a lot to me. They've been well attended, and we usually invite like our fans that come to the game. So we open it up to the community, and those have always been special. That year we went to the Final Four, we had just an unbelievable year-end banquet, and it's always neat to see a community that buys into a team and a program, and really that made it special. So that probably is one of the fondest memories. But I've had so many good ones. I mean, even probably one of my best years of coaching, or more, I guess the more fun year that I've ever had was probably my first year of coaching. When you have your first time, you have your team. That's always a special thing. So I've been really lucky at Lebanon, at Western Boone, and at Zionsville to have a bunch of great kids and great teams.
Coach, I thank you for your time today. I cherish your friendship. I know when we were kicking around this idea that your name came on that list very quickly, and we thank you very much. Hope you enjoy your painting career, because I know that you're starting to paint now. That honeydew list is getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, there's so much time available right now that I've gotten well ahead of where I thought I would be now. I'm not sure that I'm a professional painter by any means, but and it's not something I would want to do every day. I found that out. So, but it's at least passes the time, and it makes our house look nicer.
Coach, I appreciate it. Here's your little quiz. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
French fries or potato chips?
French fries.
TV or radio?
Wow, you know what? That is a tough one for me. I'm a big talk radio guy.
I know.
I almost, and especially during this time, I would go radio. I really have enjoyed listening to radio.
Well, and I'm glad that you're listening to our show Monday through Friday from 11 to 12 too. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate that.
Yeah, I will get right on that. Yeah.
Cupcakes or cookies?
I'm a cupcake guy.
There you go. Pretzels or nachos?
I'm a pretzel guy.
Okay.
Especially pretzel sticks for some reason. I don't know.
Okay. And finally, fast cars or monsters trucks?
One thing I'm not is a real car. I would go monster trucks on that thing.
Yeah, because you'll run over people. That's who.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. You're in control, Coach.
That's right.
Hey, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
All right, Keith, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
We'll take a break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Sports Zone on Indiana SRN.
Just 2 years ago, internet radio seemed to be a mysterious phenomenon. It was available for use, but there wasn't much data. That has changed. Today, there is a growing body of information on internet radio. 7 out of 10 people ages 18 to 45 prefer to listen to internet radio than a terrestrial radio station. If you're interested in reaching this audience, email us at coach@indianasrn.org. We look forward to sharing our low rates with you and help to market your business. Contact us at coach@indianasrn.org.
Well, that wraps it up for us. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Thanks very much for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please give us an email at coach@indianasrn. On behalf of the whole entire crew of Indiana SRN and our CEO, Jerry Collins, thank you so much. God bless, and we'll see you again next time. It's Indiana SRN, where you're always in the game. You're listening to Indiana SRN, God's Word 24/7 and sports.